Hey everyone, Scott here to discuss The Matrix Revolutions, starring Keanu Reeves, Lawrence Fishburne, Carrie-Anne Moss, Hugo Weaving, Jada Pinkett Smith, Nona Gay, Daniel Bernhardt, Matt McCollum, Harry Lennox, and Monica Bellucci, directed by the Wachowskis. Now, I do remember going to theaters for this thing and being rather, well, let's get into it. I'll just say this. I remember being rather disappointed, but let's see if it remains the same. Let's get into it. We pick up minutes after The Matrix Reloaded ended, where Neo, returned by Keanu Reeves, is lying on the table next to Bane, with Trinity, returned by Carrie-Anne Moss, next to him, while Morpheus, returned by Lawrence Fishburne, and Link try to see if Neo is in the Matrix, and Seraph gives news from the Oracle if Neo wakes up next to a little girl who is staring at him, telling him her name Sati, about how the train man won't let Neo in the Matrix, while Morpheus and Trinity visit the Oracle as she tells them Neo is in between the Matrix and the machines. And is this making sense? Hell no. Sati chats with Neo about being from the Matrix, and like the last time, it's really fucking hard to understand what these characters are saying. Seraph, Trinity, and Morpheus find the train man and chase after him, and do not catch him, as we learn Sati's mother and father have part ways from Sati, and the train man arrives rather late and threatens Neo as he stays in the station for a long time and takes the family with him, while Seraph, Trinity, and Morpheus go after the Frenchman to free Neo, as this is a very problematic movie. That makes no fucking sense. Hell, I can't understand half the movie's plot, particularly when they go into the Frenchman's club to ask for Neo back, and the movie's tone is way too melodramatic. And in my opinion, they make a deal to give Neo back to them, or else death comes to the Frenchman, and Trinity goes on the train to get Neo out of the Matrix, but unfortunately Neo can't leave the Matrix as he has to see the Oracle, and she tells him the truth and wants to save Zion. And he finds out what Agent Smith has entered the real world. After she tells him everything, he has a beginning, has an end, but doesn't realize whose body he's in. And at the first 30 minutes, as this has problems as this whole movie does. Sarf takes Sati to the elevator, and the hallway gets dark while Agent Smith, returned by Hugo Weaving, comes to the building and follows them in a roof and changes them into his clones, and goes to the Oracle and turns her into one of his clones, and has this laugh that sounds pure evil, but it was horrible. That shot was just horrible, and the way Hugo Weaving smiles and laughs was just fucking creepy. Bane is questioned by the ship's captain, while Neo knows the war is coming very soon, and the crewmates land the ship on the ground to find Niobe, returned by Jada Pinkett Smith, going in their ships as this time, I don't like any of the characters at all, as this may be the worst in the Matrix films. We'll see about next time. Link's girlfriend Z wants to go to war with the machines, and the kid had an accident in the battleground before the battle ever begins, as he's again a terrible character. Niobe wants to go down with the machines, where the machines enter Zion, while Neo has to take a ship and ends up taking Niobe's ship to the Machine City. And the reason she wants him to as she doesn't believe in the One, but she believes in Neo. Meanwhile, Bane kills the doctor of the ship, and Trinity wants to go with Neo, excuse me, I didn't mean war, to the Machine City, and decides to let her go with him anyways, whereas last time Neo was afraid for Trinity's life, and now he's letting her go with him. Like, what the fuck? I believe he'll regret that, as Bane goes to that ship as Agent Smith is disguised, as she gets attacked by Bane, and Neo gets to him and gets his eyes scarred, and can't see at first, but eventually he sees Agent Smith inside Bane and kills him off, which is a terrible piece of action, as you can barely see in that scene, as well as it only leaves Trinity to drive Niobe's ship, and Zion prepares for war. And I can't wait for the next hour for the movie to fucking end. The ship with Niobe and Morpheus driving gets chased by the Sentinels, while Morpheus looks absolutely fucking nervous, like he might get sick, and the war for Zion begins with the Sentinels coming in from the top and start firing as the battle is way too prolonged, because it'll take the entire hour for it to finish up, as Z has her own plans with a friend of hers. As this is the weakest part of this entire war sequence, the kid reloading Doc after Doc of bullets, in my opinion, is the second best. The second best thing about the movie, but about it. And the robots firing at the machines is the very best thing, while Niobe and Morpheus try to get back to Zion, but it's still way too prolonged for an hour into the movie. The Sentinels have a giant hammer barging into Zion control room and attack some civilians while the story continues. And I'm kind of bored at this point. I did feel the kid trying to fight the Sentinels was absolutely fucking stupid, to the point it was laughable. While Z saving his life was also absolutely cliched. Niobe and Morpheus make it to this war in Zion and electrocuting some Sentinels and knocks them out, which was a convenient and ridiculous thing that I busted up laughing while Link reunited with Z and Commander Locke acts like a complete asshole as they saved everyone's lives until more incoming Sentinels comes to attack Zion some more, and I'm having a headache at this point. Z sees a cocoon full of Sentinels, and I'm thinking they're completely fucked as the war continues for them and desperately trying to get better as it's getting worse. Neo and Trinity enter the Machine City, and Sentinels come in as Neo tries to blow them up, but is hit, so Trinity goes up to the sky as it looks very different from the world we know in this movie. As I'll give it this, it looks beautiful, but as they get down, they land the ship, and Trinity gets stabbed by a Sentinel as Neo is in shock, and that's when I said earlier he'll regret that, as he doesn't have a choice but to go without Trinity as she dies. And I was actually, unfortunately, not caring about this as much, but it shocked me when I first saw this. But at the same time, I just didn't care back then, and I don't care now. Neo gets around the Machine City and talks with the machine in charge and asks to stop Agent Smith as he's disguised as the Oracle, and gets plugged into the Matrix one last time to save Zion. Neo fights Agent Smith one last time in the Matrix, which is, in my opinion, the best thing that I was waiting for this entire movie, as it's still the best fight in this movie, in my opinion. While Agent Smith is kicking Neo's ass, Agent Smith keeps going with the monologue as Neo keeps getting up and fighting, but realizes he has no choice but to let Agent Smith change him into one of his clones, and explodes and dies and gives Zion peace and ends the war in a new world. And the Matrix has been designed by Sati, and as the sun sets, which does look pretty, but the climax is unfortunately too convenient for Neo to win and the battle and war, while everyone thinks Neo is some kind of god, which is an insulting ending. And I felt the disappointment after walking out of the theater 18 years ago. Now it's time for the rating. I'll give this movie a 3.0 out of 10. This is perhaps the weakest in the series so far, but we'll see how Resurrections will do. But I was bored, and honestly, I'm scared to go back next time. The acting is terrible, as I don't like being around these characters anymore, as the final battle with Neo and Agent Smith is, in my opinion, the best thing about the movie. But it doesn't save this movie from being pretty bad. This is a real disappointment I've had to deal with in the series for 18 years until the new movie, as the effects looked fine, but at the end of the day, I wouldn't watch this again, nor would I want to Return to the Matrix for a new movie after this long of a wait. But if it weren't for the series for the show, I wouldn't see the new movie, but let's see how it goes. So I'll be back next time with The Matrix Resurrections, and until then, I believe